Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today's discussion is going to be about history, spirituality, and religion in Southern Black folk culture. The book that I'm going to be reviewing is called Drums and Shadows, Survival Studies Among the Georgia Coastal Negroes. Before I get into the details of the book, I just want to give a backstory about the origins of the book. So during the Great Depression, President Roosevelt created what was called the Works Progress Administration, or the WPA. It was an employment and infrastructure program that was best known for its public works projects. They sponsored projects in the arts. They employed actors, musicians, writers, and just other creatives. They also employed people to build public work infrastructure projects. Like school buildings, hospitals, bridges, paving and repairing roads, and planting trees, things like that. The artists were also very famous for creating motivational posters and murals on public buildings. Sculptors created monuments, and the actors and musicians were hired to perform. So it was a program to really get people jobs, and so they could earn money during the Great Depression. What's really significant about this program and its relation to this book that I'm going to be reviewing is that the WPA, they sent people around the country to collect interviews and write articles and take photographs of Black Americans living in the South, including oral histories of former slaves. There is an archive of these photos, and you can listen to these interviews on the Library of Congress's website, and I'll leave a link to that in the description. So the book, you can pretty much purchase this lots of different places. I believe I bought mine on halfpricebooks.com. The particular edition that I have, it was the one that was published by the University of Georgia Press. It was the work of the Savannah unit of the Georgia Writers Project under the direction of Mary Granger, the district supervisor. The photos were taken by Muriel and Malcolm Bell Jr. There is, in this particular edition, there is a introduction by Charles Joyner, who is also the author of a book called Down by the Riverside, a South Carolina slave community. And he has also edited several collections of Sea Island Black folk tales and songs. The back of the book says that he is a professor of history and folklore at the University of South Carolina and Coastal Carolina College. You can purchase a copy of this book. There is also an online version of the book that you can read that has searchable text, and I'll also provide a link for that in the description box. The book is an anthropological study on the customs, beliefs, and folklore, specifically their connection to specific African customs. it really explores remnants of memories and customs and beliefs that survive the transatlantic slave trade, that survived slavery, and into the everyday lives of the former slaves that were interviewed during the 1930s. The book, it is in total 265 pages. It is sectioned off into the different towns that the interviewer would go to interview the people. There's an appendix, a glossary, the list of informants, bibliography, and index. So as you go through and you read the book, there are certain notes that are made. And so you can look up that in the back of the book, and it'll reference specific places, regions, countries or peoples in Africa that these certain customs are related to, and explores other places where, other tribes or other groups that are in Africa that share these same beliefs and what those mean, different meanings of, symbols, different things like that when it comes to, their religion and their beliefs. So I'm going to start off reading some excerpts that I've bookmarked in my copy of the book. And I think these excerpts will give you a good idea of the different subjects that they talk about in the book. So I'm going to start off with the introduction. In the introduction, there is a woman named Katie Brown. She is a descendant of Sepelo's plantation slaves. The Sepelo is one of the islands off the coast of South Carolina and Georgia. One of the things that she talks about is her great grandfather. His name was Balali Muhammad. She mentions that he was from Africa, and he became the driver on Thomas Spalding's Sepelo plantation. Balali and his wife Phoebe, she remembers, prayed when the sun came up, when the sun was straight overhead, and when the sun set. She also says that they had a little mat that they would kneel on. So I assumed that they were Muslim. She mentions that though her grandfather came from Africa, her grandmother came by way of Bahamas. She also mentions that she spoke funny words that they didn't know. On the same day every year, her grandmother made a strange flat cake. She says her grandmother would wash the rice and let the rice soak in water overnight. In the morning, when the rice, after the rice had swelled, she would take the rice and get a mortar and pestle and beat the rice into a paste. And she would add honey, sometimes sugar, and make it into a flat cake with her hands. She says she would call this saraka.